So, Solo Leveling basically just got a sequel starring Sung Jin-wook's son, Sung Soo-ho. After the story ended, we did get an exposition to what life was like after Sung Jin-woo won against the Monarchs, and it went well, but obviously not well enough, as I'm here talking about its sequel. Hi, you might know me as VMAT's Left Toenail or Logan L's Stussy Jacket. But my name is Kaisenii, and I cover manhwa content ranging from A to Z, and in today's video, we talk about Solo Leveling Ragnarok, a manhwa that takes place after the events of Solo Leveling, bringing attention to the manhwa's existence as well as explaining how it could be better than Solo Leveling itself. But finishing up, YouTube tells me that literally 0% of people who watch my videos aren't subscribed, so fix that. Now. Anyways, this is how Solo Leveling sequel is just better. Sung Jin-woo is one of my favorite characters and is actually the reason why I like manhwa so much in the first place, so when it ended, my soul was crushed. Since then, I went through so many manhwas like Solo Leveling, but to no avail. So imagine my surprise when I found out that Solo Leveling not only dropped 20 more chapters, but a good amount of them were about Sung Jin-woo's son. This is something I never knew I needed, and when I heard the announcement that it was coming back, to say that I was overjoyed is an understatement. At first I was scared of the thought that they would massacre my boy. I mean, just take a look at how they did Tokyo Ghoul the anime. But reading through the story, I knew that we were in good hands. Fast forward to a bunch of weeks later, and now we're here 13 chapters in, and long story short, I like it. Long story, here's why I think it'll be better than Solo Leveling. Finishing Sung Jin-woo's story has been both good and bad for the fandom. Having a conclusion is pretty satisfying, but at the same time, knowing we won't see it again just stings. Just the pure existence of Solo Leveling Ragnarok alleviates that pain like a Tylenol to a headache. Knowing we'll have a sequel not only feeds a desire for the manhwa, but also gives us expectations for something new. They wouldn't make a sequel for a manhwa like Solo Leveling if they had nothing to offer. Veering over to the manhwa itself, from the start there's already been some noticeable changes. Something I see a lot of people comment about is the pacing. People say things about how fast it progresses, introducing hunters just one chapter in. Now, I understand that, but people have to stop treating Solo Leveling Ragnarok like it's Solo Leveling. It sounds dumb, I know, but it isn't about just Sung Jin-woo anymore. There's a reason why Sung Soo-ho is the main character. Plus, the emerging of the hunters was already something we saw in the original series. I think adding more of it would be a waste of time and just get in the way of the series progressing as a whole. A lot of people don't want to admit it, but let's be for real. We're here because man gets strong and beat up monsters. Speaking of monsters, compared to the original series, the Gate monsters were pretty cookie cutter, let's be honest here. Honestly, their whole gimmick was being big and threatening, but the monsters we see in Ragnarok have way more depth and all the more just interesting. Like this infecting monster that can basically cause a dungeon break when released outside of the gate. With just this, we can assume that in terms of enemies, Ragnarok has a lot more to offer than just goblins and iron-fanged wolves, though there are plenty, don't get me wrong. Which is something I think this series does well despite being in its early stages. Having more enemies also means Soo-ho having to innovate a lot more in order to defeat them. Of course we get a lot of punching, which is Soo-ho's actually main way of fighting. But it is nice to see why Soo-ho is Jin-woo's son in the first place. Fighting has changed quite a lot in the newest manhwa, and as much as I wouldn't want to compare Jin-woo to Soo-ho in the first place, Jin-woo has just set a high benchmark that it's hard for me not to in certain aspects, which contradicts what I said earlier, but I assume you all have enough brain cells to know what I mean. Reading further and further, the difference between the story just presents itself more. For example, an event in the story introduces a legacy of a monarch, specifically the monarch of Fangs and his descendant. Remembering what happened in the original series, even for me, it's hard to see the monarchs as anything else other than an enemy. Which up to this point in the series is still what I thought of them as, but very quickly, Ragnarok subverted my expectations. Having the son of the Shadow Monarch and the descendant of the Fang Monarch work together is a refreshing breath of fresh air. A lot of dungeon manhwas focus solely on the main character. But having a party system doesn't only add a positive feel to the series, but just think about how cool it is. The Shadow Monarch's son and the Fang Monarch's descendant teaming up? Doesn't just that sound sick as fuck? The series just can't help to be different from its predecessor. Fundamentally, it is Solo Leveling. Shadow powers like his father, but I genuinely adore how different it is. Different in a good way where it doesn't try to forget what it is, a Solo Leveling sequel. The story so far has been progressing actually really well. starting from the ground up, it makes me curious as to how much stronger are the outer gods compared to the monarchs, and just how much stronger Jinwoo got to be fighting these gods alone. And how will Suho level up all the way to his father's level to be fighting equally alongside him? It's these questions that make me interested in whatever Ragnarok has to offer. Now don't get me wrong, there are some annoying caveats to it, with Beru's glazing being way too much, but it's a price I'm willing to pay to see it through. What I'm most curious about is the outer gods. We've seen what Jinwoo can do and what Suho would be able to do, but the outer gods are just different. I'm actually willing to bet that there would be some manhwa crossovers as a result of the universal fighting. It would be interesting to see how Jinwoo would interact with Dokja from ORV or Jaehwan from the world after the end. Either way, the series is still in its early stages, so it's hard to predict anything accurately. But the fact that it's coming on so strong, with so much hype behind it as well, we can all lie back and be rest assured that they wouldn't butcher something as important as solo leveling Ragnarok. But what do you guys think? Have you read the series yet? And if so, drop your opinions down in the comments. Thanks for watching, and so yeah.